Hi, welcome to video lesson number 2. Today we will talk about English grammar. I'll tell you a bit about how you can easily form new words from old ones, then about the rules of forming sentences in English, and about expressing actions in relation to time. First, we'll look at word formation or how to create new words. The two most common ways of doing this are conversion and affixation. Conversion means that you create a word with new meaning without changing the form of the original word. For example, rule can be a noun, meaning a law, or it can be a verb, to rule, meaning to manage or control. Try can be a noun, like in I passed the exam on first try, or it can be a verb to try, like in I'll try not to fail, or it can also mean to be judged in front of a court, like in the robber is going to be tried for stealing jewelry. Also, tie can be a noun, as a piece of clothing, or it can be a verb to tie, meaning to connect. And finally, view can be a noun, like the view from the top of Valletta is magical, or a verb with the meaning of to see, like in I view your reluctance to do your homework as disrespectful. On the other hand, when forming new words through affixation, you need to change the form of the word by adding a new beginning or a new ending. For example, by adding ending r to word rule, we create a noun ruler. Ruler is a person who rules, like a king. By adding ending ing to word try, we get the adjective trying. Trying means difficult. By adding beginning un to the word tie, we get new word untie. Untie is the opposite of tie. It means to disconnect. And by adding the beginning re to word view, we get new word review, which means to view again. Often we can add both prefix and suffix to a word. For example, if we take the word relate, which means to connect, and add beginning co at the beginning and ending yon, we get new word correlation, which means mutual relation. The beginnings are called prefixes and the endings are called suffixes. First, let's look at the suffixes. There are two categories of suffixes. The first are the inflectional suffixes. They change only the grammatical meaning of words. They are add, used in past tense of verbs, such as open, opened; ing, used in progressive form of words, such as to run, to be running; s, used in plural, like in dog, dogs; s, used in third person singular, such as in I run, he runs; and or est, used in gradation, such as fast, faster, fastest. The other category of suffixes are those that change the word class, which means the suffix can change a word into noun, adjective, verb, or adverb. In the next part of the video, we will look at these in more detail. First, we have suffixes that turn a word into noun. I will always read the suffix and then the example words. Feel free to stop the video and read them at your own pace. Okay, first we have suffix er, like in composer, conductor, or player. Suffix er or is used when talking about a person who does an action. Then we have suffix ing, like in building or walking, which is used for objects and actions. Then we have yun, shun, ishin, or ation, like in stagnation, nation, salvation, or situation. These are used for actions, processes, or states. Next, we have ness, like in darkness, kindness, goodness, or selfishness. We use them for state or quality. Then we have ite or te, like in stupidity, inability, gravity, activity, or creativity. We use suffix ite for talking about state, condition, or quality. Next, we have suffix ment, like in management, unemployment, or payment. We use ment when talking about an action or a result. Then we have ure, like in brewery, bakery, or machinery. We use this suffix for occupations, business, or products. And finally, we have suffix ant, like in accountant, antidepressant, deodorant, or lieutenant. We use this suffix when talking about a person or thing that does a specific thing. Then there are suffixes that turn a word into an adjective. Again, I'll always read the suffix and then the example word. Feel free to stop the video and read them at your own pace. We have suffix ad, like bearded, embarrassed, or wide-eyed. Then we have ing, like interesting, fascinating, or preceding. Then we have al or yal, like typical, original, practical, or unusual. Next we have suffix e, like in words cheery, silly, noisy, or rainy. Then we have ick, like in basic, epic, cannibalistic, or apocalyptic. Then there is the trio of suffixes os, yus, or yus, like in adventurous, famous, or dangerous. Another group is ib, ative, or itive, like in adhesive, creative, positive, or native. Next suffix is full, which means with, like in meaningful, with meaning, beautiful, with beauty, or powerful, with power. Next suffix is less, which means without, like in shameless, without shame, merciless, without mercy, hairless, without hair, or humorless, without humor. Next suffix is ish, like in Irish, English, or girlish. And the last one, able, like in respectable, considerable, or dishonorable. And finally, the most common adverb creating suffix is suffix "li", for example in briefly, bravely, boldly, but also in proudly, greatly, correctly, carefully, suddenly, automatically, normally, separately, dangerously, badly, perfectly, highly, lowly, quickly, slowly, and so on. And now on to prefixes, the new beginnings for words. Long story short, prefixes give new semantical meaning to the words. For example, they can change the quantity, the time, the importance and size of the meaning. They can change the meaning of the word into negative. And then there are prefixes with other meaning. Next, we will look at basic rules of forming sentences in English language. Generally, every sentence in English should have two basic parts: a verb, which tells us what action happens, and a subject, which is the person who does the action. For example, in sentence Martin was playing, Martin is the subject, the person who does the action, and the action was playing. A sentence that does not have a subject and a verb is not complete. Also, most sentences have an object, the word that tells us to whom or to what is the action being done. For example, Martin was playing guitar. Guitar is the object. Sentences also usually include other words which tell us when, how, where, and so on the situation happened. For example, yesterday Martin was playing guitar in the garden. Or they can tell us characteristics of the nouns in the sentence. For example, yesterday Silent Martin was playing acoustic guitar in the garden. Now, all of these sentences are simple sentences because they only have one action. We also know sentences in which there are more actions. We call them compound or complex sentences. As I said, compound and complex sentences have more than one action. Compound sentence is like two simple sentences put together. We call them coordinating sentences because they are both equal, complete, and both can stand alone. For example, Martin was playing guitar and Mary started crying. If we separate them, no meaning is lost. Martin was playing guitar. Mary started crying. On the other hand, in complex sentence, one of the parts is subordinate and can't stand alone because it would not be complete. We can use one part of the sentence to ask about the other. For example, Mary started crying because Martin played a sad song. Why did Mary start crying? She started crying because Martin played a sad song. Because he played a sad song cannot stand alone because it is not a complete sentence. Next, we will look at the word order in the English language and the so-called SVO rule. In English, all sentences, whether they are complex or compound or simple, word order is very important. This is because English is an analytical language, which means it uses many small words and does not have too many inflections. Inflections are those suffixes that change grammatical meaning. To put it simply, word order in English is important because Peter killed Paul is not the same as Paul killed Peter. What is the difference? Well, the difference is who is dead, right? But let's not talk about killing. Basically, usually, subject goes first and verb goes after it. For example, Peter, the subject, kissed, verb. Object usually goes after verb. Peter kissed Paul. Peter is subject, kissed is verb, Paul is object. SVO means subject, verb, object. Now, if there are other words in the sentence, the characteristics of nouns are placed near them, usually before them, like Happy Peter kissed Paul, and time, place, and reason can usually stand either at the beginning or at the end of the sentence without changing its meaning. For example, yesterday in the garden, Peter kissed Paul is just as correct as Peter kissed Paul yesterday in the garden. There are some exceptions to the SVO rule. The most common one are questions. In questions, subject and verb may switch places. For example, Paul is happy. Is Paul happy? Also, when forming questions, we use verbs like do, can, have, and interrogative pronouns such as who, what, why, where, when, whose, or how. For example, did Peter kiss Paul? Who kissed Paul? Who did Peter kiss? Why did Peter kiss Paul? How was it? Could Paul breathe? Have you got the picture? Let's move on to expressing actions in relation to time. Just like in other languages, in English we can speak about any action in present, future, or past time. The grammatical forms that we use for it are the simple form, in which verb is in infinitive form or past form. This is the most basic one. Then the continuous form, in which we use to be plus verb with suffix ing, and the perfect form, which consists of have plus past participle of a verb. So we can have present simple, present continuous, or present perfect. Then we can have past simple, past continuous, or past perfect, and future simple, future continuous, or future perfect. First, let's look at expressing actions that happen in present time. For this, we can use the present simple tense, or present simple form, and present continuous tense, or present continuous form. Present simple tense is the most basic form in the English language. We use it to talk about things that happen often and regularly, like every day, every week, every month, and so on. For example, I go to school. Then we use it for talking about habits, like I always comb my hair in the morning. We use it for things that are always true, like the earth is round. And we use it for talking about states of being, like I am happy. In present simple tense, we use the verb to be, like in I am happy, you are happy, he, she, it is happy, we are happy, you are happy, they are happy. Or we can use other verbs in the infinitive form, which is the basic form, where in third person singular, so with he, she, it, we use suffix s or s with the verb, such as in I go to school, you go to school, she, he, it goes to school, we go to school, you go to school, and they go to school. In forming questions, we use do or does for third person singular, plus person plus verb, and in negatives, we use do not or does not plus verb. The other form we can use for expressing actions in present time is the present continuous tense. We use it to talk about things that are happening right now. Present continuous form consists of the verb to be plus a verb with suffix ing. In forming a negative, we add not after the to be. For example, I am swimming. James is playing in the garden. They are walking to school. Now let's move to expressing actions happening in the future. For this, we use 4 different forms in English: the will form, the going to form, and we can also use the present simple form and present continuous form. The most basic way of expressing future in English is using the will form. Will form consists of the word will plus verb in infinitive form. Unlike the present form, will does not add the suffix s to verbs in third person singular. For expressing negative, we add word not after the will. The short form of will not is won't. We use the will form for making predictions or for stating something about which we are absolutely sure. For example, Man United will win that match. Or, you will not finish the book before the deadline at this speed. Another way of expressing future is using the going to form. It consists of present form of to be, followed by going to, followed by verb in infinitive. When expressing negative, we put the word not after the to be. We use this form for talking about plans, intentions, or for predictions based on current situation, and often we can see that current situation. For example, I feel ill. I'm going to lie down. Look at those clouds. It's going to rain. Mary is going to be a doctor when she grows up. We can also express certain things in the future using the present continuous form, which we already know from expressing the present. The form is the same as in the present, to be plus verb plus ing, and we use it to talk about personal plans or fixed plans in a near future. For example, I'm meeting a friend at 5 o'clock. We're inviting lots of people to the party. She's flying to London on the next Thursday. And the last way of expressing future is using the present simple form. We use this one when talking about official fixed plans, such as timetables, schedules, and so on. For example, the train leaves at 5. The train leaves in 2 hours. It's in the timetable. It's official. We can't change it. Or, she arrives tomorrow. She's scheduled to arrive. She bought a flight. She'll be there tomorrow. Okay, this is it for today. Next time we'll look at expressing the past and some other frequent English grammatical forms. Thank you for your attention, and please don't forget about your homework, and don't forget to print out the worksheets for the next lesson and bring them with you to the lesson.